you ever notice that you understand people faster than they understand themselves? You'll be talking to someone about their job, their relationship, or decision they're stuck on, and suddenly something clicks. You can already see where this is going. You recognize the pattern. You've seen this situation play out before, so you gently point it out, and almost immediately they push back. They say you're overthinking, that you're reading too much into it, that it's not that deep. So you stop talking. Or maybe it happens like this. You walk into a room and instantly feel something is off. No one has said a word yet, but the atmosphere is heavy. There's tension in the air, unspoken, subtle, undeniable. You sense conflict beneath the surface, but you don't say anything. Because the last time you did, people looked at you like you were imagining things, like you were disconnected from reality. If moments like this feel familiar, there's something important you need to understand. You're not imagining things, you're not being dramatic, and you're not broken. But your mind may be operating in a way most people don't recognize or value. And that's where the problem begins. You were probably told that being thoughtful or insightful was a strength, that awareness was a gift, that depth would make life easier. But instead, it often feels like the opposite. Your mind doesn't slow down easily. You notice patterns you can't unsee. You think several steps ahead, even when you wish you wouldn't. While others react to life as it happens, you're already sensing where things are heading. And quietly, a question forms. Why does my mind feel less like a gift and more like a curse? Carl Jung had a name for this kind of perception. He called it introverted intuition. This isn't about being shy. It isn't about social anxiety. And it isn't about fear. It's about where attention naturally flows. For some people, attention moves outward, toward action and stimulation. For others, it moves inward, toward meaning, patterns, and what lies beneath the surface. If you're in that second group, your mind is always scanning underneath what's happening. You don't just hear words, you sense intention. You don't just see behavior, you notice direction. You don't just observe events, you feel where they're headed. And this isn't guesswork, it isn't imagination, it isn't mystical intuition. Jung described it as perceiving psychological patterns that repeat across people and time. That's why your insights arrive fully formed, and why explaining them is so difficult, because you don't see steps, you see holes. But here's where this ability becomes painful. The world isn't designed for inward perception. It rewards speed, not depth, certainty, not nuance, reaction, not reflection. So you learn to stay quiet. You filter your thoughts. You simplify what you say. You doubt what you sense. And slowly, an internal split forms. Outwardly, you seem calm, maybe even distant. Inwardly, your mind is constantly active. The same mind that gives you insight also isolates you. And eventually, a dangerous conclusion appears. If my mind creates this much distance, maybe something is wrong with me. But Jung warned against this exact misunderstanding. Without minds like this, humanity would have no visionaries. No people capable of sensing what's forming before it becomes visible. So the problem isn't that your mind is defective. The problem is that it's operating in an environment that doesn't know how to use it. Your mind doesn't feel like a curse because it sees too much. It feels like a curse because it's working without structure. Your perception is designed to notice direction over time, not details in the moment. That's why small talk feels exhausting. Why surface explanations feel incomplete. Why fast-moving environments drain you. Your psyche is tuned to depth, but depth without expression turns inward. Thoughts loop, insights pile up, meaning accumulates with nowhere to go. Instead of clarity, you get overload. Instead of wisdom, isolation. This is why you can feel exhausted without doing anything visibly demanding. The work is happening internally, constantly. And because much of it happens beneath awareness, it feels uncontrollable. You don't choose to analyze. It just happens. Modern culture makes this worse. It values reaction over reflection, speed over timing, certainty over early insight. So when you speak carefully or hesitate or offer a perspective that doesn't fit the moment, you're often dismissed, not because you're wrong, but because you're early. So you suppress what you see. You wait for validation. You tell yourself you might be exaggerating. You delay action even when clarity is already present. Over time, your mind doesn't stop seeing patterns. It starts turning them against you. You anticipate failure. You imagine worst-case outcomes. You feel responsible for things that haven't happened yet. From the outside, you look calm. On the inside, you're always alert. This vigilance becomes tension, and tension becomes fatigue. It also shows up in relationships. You sense misalignment long before it's visible. You feel drift forming before words change. But because early insight has been dismissed before, you hesitate. You wait. You gather more data. You stay longer than you should. When things finally fall apart, others are surprised. You aren't. But instead of relief, you feel heavier. Because foresight without agency turns into quiet grief. Eventually, self-doubt sets in. Not loudly, subtly. You start questioning your own perception. You downplay what you see. You wait for confirmation before trusting yourself. This isn't humility, it's learned hesitation. And it erodes confidence, not because you lack clarity, but because you've learned not to act on it. So you simplify yourself. You stay present, but not fully engaged. You listen, but reveal little. People may call you calm or composed. What they don't see is the cost. You're not detached because you don't feel. You're detached because you feel too much to expose it carelessly. This creates loneliness, not from being alone, but from being unseen. And because your mind is future-oriented, that loneliness feels permanent. At some point, something shifts. Not dramatically, not suddenly. You just realize that withdrawing further isn't the answer. That staying contained isn't the same as being whole. This is where the rebellion begins. And it doesn't look like rebellion at all. You stop apologizing internally for how your mind works. You stop shrinking your perceptions to fit spaces not designed to hold them. You stop assuming discomfort means something is wrong. The rebellion isn't against the world, it's against self-erasure. You begin grounding inside, not by explaining everything, but by choosing where and how it belongs. You realize not every perception needs to be spoken, but some must be acted on. And the moment your inner perception begins shaping out a reality, the pressure eases. Thoughts stop looping, insight finds movement. This is what Jung meant by individuation, not becoming special, becoming aligned. When who you are inside matches how you live outside, the mind relaxes, not because life becomes easy, but because it becomes honest. And this leads to the final realization. Your mind was never a curse. It felt like one because you tried to live as if depth were optional. But for you, depth was never optional. You were never meant to live at the surface, and you were never meant to drown in the depths. You were meant to translate, to take what you see inwardly and give it form, quietly, deliberately. Your mind feels heavy only when it's unintegrated. Once aligned, it becomes clear, not restless, not cursed, purposeful. You were never broken. You were unfinished, and now you know what to do.